Well, welcome to 284 Media's Just for the Record. I am your host, Kamal Haynes, and today I will be interviewing the incumbent territorial at-large candidate, Honorable Carvin Malone. Malone, who is a former Minister for Health and Social Development, will be contesting this upcoming general election under the Virgin Islands Party. Well, on today's episode, we will be asking Honorable Malone some of the tough questions that need answers. Well, stay tuned right after this break.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on popular.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
We now return with more Just for the Record. As mentioned prior to the break, joining me on Just for the Record is Honorable Carvin Malone, who will be contesting the upcoming general election under the Virgin Islands Party as an at-large candidate. Well, welcome, Honorable Malone, and thank you so much for joining us on Just for the Record.
Just for the record, I'm pleased to be here, Kamau, and like you say, greetings to everyone here in the territory, in the region, and throughout the world.
Okay, great. Well, let's jump into the questions. For those persons who are unaware of who Carvin Malone is, just walk us through your academic training and professional career.
Okay, great. Well, if you start from way back, I went to pre-primary in Alexandria, Maduro, Bargos Bay, went to primary school in Willard Wheatley, now the Willard Wheatley School, the Elmo Stout High School, Pace University, and then when I returned home with my bachelor's in public accounting, then I served on almost every body there is in government. So I am a past member of the Hotel and Commerce Association, a past member of the Budgetary and Finance Committee. I was a member of the Constitution Review Committee. I served on the board of the college, and I served as president of the Virgin Islands Party from 1999 till 2016.
Okay, and in terms of just going back, this is another personal question. What would you say is your purpose in life?
My purpose in life is to make sure, number one, that you have service to humanity, number one. Number two, I have a family. I have to make sure that the family is basically, taken care of, and to do whatever part in there is in life that I can do, because it is important that we, to those who much is given, much should be expected and much is expected. So the purpose in life basically is to do whatever I could, so that the legacy will be one of service, the legacy will be one in where I was able to impart my knowledge to a number of persons, and so that they can benefit and serve the community.
And how does that purpose align with being a politician?
Well, because this is one of the highest calling. So when you are able to either pass legislation, reach out and touch someone through legislation, that is number one. Number two, where you could affect their lives, because the last 4 years have been the most difficult, and when you could directly influence, whether it's a public assistance program, reaching people to their highest potential, make sure that if someone is going to be educated, that you assist them throughout the education process. Some folks, they go through primary school, and some may not even be able to afford secondary school. But with the Virgin Islands Party government from way back, make sure the secondary schools were built. Make sure that the education in terms of tertiary was built. So, creating opportunities. And this is one medium in which you can have it done.
Okay, and you spoke about the last 4 years being the most difficult for the territory. What have you done for the people of the Virgin Islands in the last 4 years?
In the last 4 years, I happen to have been afforded the opportunity to serve as Minister for Health and Social Development. And in that particular period, well, let's not talk about the loan guarantees yet. Let's talk about when the entire world was stricken with the COVID-19 pandemic. Together with the Public Health Act, the Quarantine Act, and those other acts. We were able to manage that particular situation to where we lost as few lives. We did what we could in terms of making sure that people were afforded whatever opportunities there were to protect the entire society. We were able to feed homes. We were able to repair, our homes from the storms. But during COVID especially, when you had the lockdowns, and this was a worldwide phenomenon, over 7 million people perished as a result of COVID-19. We unfortunately lost 64 persons, but we were able to make sure that people get the help that they need as much as we could afford. And I think that this is very critical. When you look at all of the other services that were particularly offered, whether to the HM prison, whether to Sandy Lane or, to the particular center, whether to Rainbow Children Home, all of these centers, we were able to assist as best we could in making sure that lives and livelihoods were well taken care of.
Okay. And why should the people re-elect you as an at-large candidate?
Well, as an at-large candidate, because I have traversed from Anegada to Jocelyn Dyke. I had my sister island Fridays, for instance, where you go, you sit, you meet, you see the challenges of each of our islands, and folks tend to leave out Tortola, or maybe the sister islands will say that we tend to include only Tortola. But the fact is that by going out into the highways, the byways, and being a part of each of these communities, we were able then to see the peculiarities that occurs in Anegada. They have the medical services where the doctor itself will actually come over once, twice, or 3 times a week. We were able to make sure that the doctors came from, I think, either Thursday or Friday, stayed until Monday, 3 full days a week, and then they came over again another day. We still did not solve the airlift situation. We have to get it solved. Elect me so that we can complete this. We were in conversations already, and I know that the ministry is doing whatever they could in order to complete this. It's too long. We need to get that done. We will look in terms of there were some social homes that were constructed on Anegada, and I think they actually turned over one just about a week ago. There are more homes that need repair. We have to complete that particular job. We were looking in terms of making sure that the complete health improvement project throughout the entire territory to make sure that those are done. If you come to Virgin Gorda, we were able to, North Sound, we must be able to provide full-time medical services in North Sound. We have to complete that. We're looking in terms of, we started the Nurse Iris O'Neill Clinic. We have a number of new services that are being offered in that clinic now, as we speak. The second floor is not completed, and we have to complete that. That must be done. We were looking in terms of let's go to Jocelyn Dyke first. We were able to repair a number of homes. We were able to build a number of social homes. We were able to look in terms of providing a particular port of entry that I think was key in Dogs Hole. And when the Minister for Communications and Works come, he'll be able to tell you of the number of works that were completed there. We're looking in terms of, there is a school being rebuilt, a multi-purpose building, and the government, it was actually facilitated by donors, government interventions, and the Ministry of Health was able to swap lands with the particular Ministry of Education so that we can then have the school in a non-flood zone. That building is going quite fine. It will do a number of issues. If you come to Tortola, then most of the 22 social homes that we built were on that on this island. But the fact is that it influenced homes, lives, livelihoods, and we were able to do that. In fact, I had the note in terms of what we were able to do. We were able to provide, as I mentioned before, number of social homes were built. We were able to give 8 rebuild grants of $150,000 and more, 177 home repair grants, 22 material grants, 40 appliance grants, 20 hurricane shutter grants. All of these were done, and there are still people who are hurting as a result of the storms, as a result of the pandemic. We have to continue and have a person like me, who basically, as a member still of the Lions Club, but I'm one of the older members now at this time, and we were able to carry that humanitarian spirit into the ministry and make sure that people get help where help is needed.
Okay. My next question, I know as the former Minister for Health and Social Development, you would have obviously been in that particular role for a number of years. But should you be re-elected, are there any specific areas of focus that you will be seeking to manage and resolve? We'll be right back with more Just for the Record after this short break.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, I can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What you really? Hey, this ain't like you,
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit, I talk about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
We now return with more Just for the Record. Should you be re-elected, are there any specific areas of focus that you will be seeking to manage and resolve?
Well, first of all, yes, clearly. We have to make sure that the complete health improvement programs, the neighborhood programs, the healthy school, healthy work environments, because if we can get or help, I might not be a poster child for health right now, but I'll get there. But if we are able to make healthy communities and healthy persons, then the primary and secondary care system would not be, quote unquote, stressed as much. So we must work with social development department and make sure that all of the programs required to create healthy persons, healthy environments, that is done. Number one, the healthcare system, NHI, must be reformed so that it could last forever. Right now, it is unsustainable how it is going, and we have to do that together with the Health Services Authority. We must be able to have balanced billing. We must be able to provide the professionals who can come in, get accredited or get approved so that they can offer the secondary or the particular services needed and be able to do so in an efficient manner. We must be able to look in terms of taking better care of our less fortunate. Those persons who have fallen down on their particular luck, they must be afforded more assistance. Those people who are mentally challenged, I don't feel as if we have done or is doing enough. We must be able to actually address that particular system. We also have to look in terms of those who are substance abuse persons. Where are we going to they must be able to get the help necessary so that we can do it. So this is a caring government, but we have to make sure from the cradle to the grave and all that is in between, we have to do whatever programs that are necessary to get this done.
Okay. My next question, what are your professional plans if you are not re-elected?
Well, I have two things, and this is very interesting. When I decided to run in 2019, my company, Carvin Business Enterprises, it was basically ready to rocket off in terms of let's say the whole environmental field in terms of construction and whatever. But seeing where we were going, I thought it was necessary for me to offer whatever assistance that was required so that we can build the Virgin Islands not only for I'm 64, come 2 months from now, and not only for my other 30 or 35 years, but throughout this particular globe, right? Since leaving the ministry, or since I am now the backbench. In fact, I have moved from the gamut: minister, backbench, opposition, backbench. But this whole concept of helping the Virgin Islands and the people of the Virgin Islands to decide what status they want for themselves as a country, as a people, is critical. The education of our people towards determination. It cannot be just put on a ballot and say, well, here, pick a choice. Make a choice of what? Folks have to be able to afford the opportunity to learn what are the requirements of our people. We must not be just satisfied in terms of fighting against everything that is thrown at us. We must be able to decide what it is we want as a Virgin Islands, as a people. And this is why I think it was Ron who actually interviewed me in terms of the One VI agenda. One VI agenda is simple. It is for everyone. A training center. I would love to be able to develop a center, a headquarters for it, so that we can broadcast throughout the world and let people know that these are the, because you see, when you take the empowerment programs, let's say you have the work by Dr. June Suma in terms of the program that she had moving the economic sustainability plans. When you look at the work by Dr. Carlisle, when you look at what we have to decide, we cannot continue to have one government go, they have a plan, they start it, they cannot finish, a new government come, they scrap it, they start a new plan, they cannot finish, a new government come, they scrap it, they start it, cannot finish. How are we going to move forward with that light? We must be able to get this done.
So just to be clear, as it relates to my question, as it relates to what would you do professionally? Should you?
No, professionally, I would continue my company, number one. And number two, I win, lose, or draw, I want to be able to create the arena where the education of our people towards what is important in terms of determining what we want as a country, what we want as a people, is afforded to them.
Okay.
I will bring in professionals from wherever it is to help us take our own people. All people know more about what we want than anyone else. It's just a matter of trying to get it. Succinct.
Understood. Okay, so let's move to our next question. Do you see the current situation at the Popwood Pond waste management site as a threat to the health of residents in the surrounding districts?
Well, not what I see, is what I know. It is a threat to health. It's a threat to health, it's a threat to the actual community and must be addressed. When I was on the way there, I had already, through the ministry, put to the RDA, we had charged them with looking at some immediate fixes, medium and long term. The immediate was going to be where we purchased a number of mobile incinerators, put 2 or 3 in the Popwood Pond area for now, put one in Virgin Gorda, and what we were going to do once we get the permanent secondary or the actual treatment plant in, then we were going to put another one of those plants, move the ones from Packwood Pond because they would not be temporary anymore. Put one on Anegada, put another one on Virgin Gorda, and put one on Jasmine Dyke. This was important because those equipment were going to be ready within 4 to 5 months. So by now we would have had those equipment so that the actual combustion, spontaneous combustion is the word, that occurs from time to time. The pit is not deliberately lit, but because gases build up, you have spontaneous combustion, and it is creating a particular issue. On top of the fact that we cannot continue to build a mountain from garbage. The base was not prepared for it. So if you have another 50-year storm, 100-year storm, we have to be mindful that the base was not prepared for that type of weight. So the quicker we can get that accomplished, then it is easier. It will be more sustainable. And final note, in terms of the very long-term plan, the treated influent, and now you have the effluent coming out, the ash, what have you. We have to create not landfills, but in terms of landfills in some area where the treated effluent can then be used to create land. I know that the RDA is already on that move somewhere in the Packwood Pond area. I haven't been as close to it now as I used to be, but the fact is that there is a plan afoot to have the treated effluent so that we can do, and then we can actually start to bring down that mountain of garbage that has been placed there since 2000, I think it's 16 or since then.
And my follow-up question, you spoke about some of the plans and what would have occurred should the systems be implemented that would have been ready within 4 to 5 months as it relates to the project you were speaking about. For those persons that are living in the districts that are continuously breathing in these airs, etc., the toxic air from the Packwood Pond waste management area, those looking from the outside in are wondering why haven't anything being completed to this point, especially after a number of promises would have been made in 2019. We'll be right back with more Just for the Record after this short break. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites. It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today, we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
We now return with more Just for the Record. You spoke about some of the plans and what would have occurred should the systems be implemented that would have been ready within 4 to 5 months as it relates to the project you were speaking about. For those persons that are living in the districts that are continuously breathing in these airs, etc., the toxic air from the Potwood Pond waste management area, those looking from the outside in are wondering why haven't anything been completed to this point, especially after a number of promises would have been made in 2019.
Well, the whole thing is this. We came in, there was a burnt out unit, so it had to go untreated in the hills. We worked in terms of getting the monies readied, getting the control panel done, and had it retrofitted. That then curtailed that while we were looking in terms of developing the plan for the replacement of the other unit that had burnt out just in 2018. There was another fire that took out the control panel and the wirings. This is when the temporary fix in terms of the mobile units were being envisaged. The new minister and the actual department, they took a notion that they will actually replace the second burnt out control panel and have it put back into operation. I cannot tell you the status of the replacement control panel, but I do know that that is a route that was taken. Fine. In addition, you're looking in terms of where the landfills could be. In the interim is what I was most concerned about. I know that they're taking whatever measures needed to cover the particular, the untreated, garbage, so that the spontaneous combustion would not take place as often. But from time to time, and I mentioned this in some of my interviews before while I was in the ministry, the fact is that there are persons who will take empty or damaged propane tanks, put them in the landfill or cause them to be placed in the landfill. And you can hear the explosion when these things happen. This should not be. But we have to do this. And most important, if we were to put into place the recycle plan, we had a 7-hour plan in terms of recycling, reuse, restrict, all of the particular legislations, because that whole concept of recycling, reuse, restrictions, if we get that done, it will reduce just a vast number of tonnage of garbage that goes to that site.
Okay.
And we can begin that now, because during the pandemic, we were able to have house to house, for instance. We were able to better separate our plastics or reusable stuff. So stuff that could not be reused, we were able to separate that out.
Okay. So I want to move quickly on to our next question. Let me get in some of these other very important questions from the public. What are your views on the current sewage issues in the BVI?
Terrible. Must be fixed. Too long in promises, too short in goals. And one of the particular areas is going to be, well, Carvin, you were given a contract to do A, B, C, D, E, and so forth. That interrupted every time. But no excuse for any of that. Must be done. East End, Roadtown, King Garden Bay, Virgin Gorda, Jocelyn Dyke, Anegada. We have an issue. There is a master plan for getting this done. And as I'm saying, no excuses from anyone, from me or anyone. Get it done.
Get it done, but what is the plan? As you say, the whole thing
No,
what is the plan to get it?
No, what I'm saying to you is this. The Premier has already announced, and material is on the ground. He's already announced that the particular, the actual lift station, central lift station in actually Long Swamp, the contracts, they're either going out or out. the pipes to convey from Parentown down to that same lift station, those pipes are here. So the plan is for immediate relief. But I can sit and say that now that we're 10 days away from elections. What I'm saying is that actual materials have been built. Contracts, I understand. I'm not as close to it as the Minister for Actual Communication and Works. He will have more of the direct plan. But as a member of the Virgin Islands Party government, as a member, and I think that this is not a partisan conversation. All of the parties are to blame. All the members, whether you're from east, west, north, south, we have to, there's a lot of blame to go around, but that's not going to fix it. What's going to fix it is to be able to appropriate the correct amount of funds necessary to have it done.
Okay.
I'm aware that funds have been made available. I am aware that there are contracts that are already being let. But I can't use that as a cushion. It's too late, too long, must be done.
Okay. So let's move to our next question. What is your view on the recently concluded Commission of Inquiry?
My views are known. It was a quote unquote brought on. Carvin Malone, I was concerned about the possibility of this from 2015 because there were areas of the framework for sustainable government and so forth, the protocol document. What the terms and conditions of it were not met in 2015. I saw what happened in Turks and Caicos, I saw what happened in Cayman, saw what happened in all of these other places. And I was saying, let us get our house in order so that this movie doesn't come here. Get your popcorn, double size your Coke, whatever you want to do. Let us be prudent in all of this. We are where we are, and the Commission of Inquiry happened. I called it a particular audit of management for the past 55 years, 67 till now, well, now 56 years. The Commission of Inquiry was non-specific in terms of what was being looked into. So the entire government was being looked into. So we were looking in terms of the failures, not the successes, the failures only of governments after governments after government. You have to recall that we are now, I think it's 19 legislatures after. We went up to the 15th in terms of legislative council, and then we have a House of Assembly. This is the fourth one now completed, and we'll be going into the fifth, right? So here we are. These are areas that must be addressed. The audits must happen. We cannot be 7 and 8 years behind in audits and think that that is cool. It is constitutional that the audits are completed. We cannot have indiscretionate spending of public funds. That has to be completed. We cannot do a number. So most of those areas that are mentioned in the recommendations, there are things that we have already agreed that needs to be done. Can we do it? Yes. Must the Constitution be suspended in order to get it done? No. We built this country, and if I am not going to sit in favor of anyone telling me that we did not have legislators who could do this properly, who have done this properly, or who will do this properly. It's not so. We are on the backs of our foreparents or leaders. And did we mess up in some regards? Yes. But we also have a lot of good stories to tell. Very good stories to tell. And I can list them all, but we're under the tyranny of the clock, so I'm going to take it. Go ahead.
Okay, so my next question, I know obviously you have been a big proponent of the Order in Council to get that removed from Open Territory. How do you plan on continuing that fight? Should you be re-elected or not elected at all?
That's right. Elected or not elected. The removal of a constitution should never be. We have a duty to perform. The infractions of which were cited, they do not raise to the level of having a constitution removed. It is a high-handed, and it is not based only on getting those quote-unquote 48 recommendations implemented. There is a bigger story to it. People say I like to have too many stories, but the fact is, those covering the roads are not about whether or not grandma get $200 or $250. Yes, we must correct all that is illegal. The justice system must work under the governor. The public officials, they are trying the very best, but more monies need to be afforded so that they are better readied to create the service and to cite this. It must be done. All of what it is, that whole justice system is important. If I am intent on breaking the law, then put me through the justice system. Make sure that due process is afforded to me. But let the justice system work. We have a backup of persons that we need to get from being on remand in the prison. Let the justice system work. And if you want to send assistance, well, send in 5 judges. Open up 5 courts. Get the backlog done. Get the inspector in. Get the whole of the UK investigation forces in, so that justice could prevail. The COI is wrong. It is not right. It's incorrect. It must be corrected. And I think that we can do it. We as a people can do it. But this is what the whole education as to our rights. That is one of the process in terms of the one agenda, making sure that people understand that we have a duty to perform in terms of making sure that we are not persons who are intent on breaking the laws. If we're going to have our Virgin Islands 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now, just like how we are able to look back from 73 years ago and say that since 1950, look at the fine works that our forefathers and our forebears have done. We must leave the other generation to say the same of us. We cannot go to where we are placing the Virgin Islands back to 1967 and worse, back to 1950.
Okay. My next question, obviously you were the former Minister for Health and Social Development. Should you be re-elected, we do know due to the formation of the National Unity Government, you would have been placed as a backbencher thereafter. Should you be re-elected and you are not assigned ministry, for example, what would be your take and what would be your response to such?
My response is, and I must say, being placed in the backbench, then give me a focus in terms of what I need to zero in on. And this is why I feel that the whole concept of education of our people, making sure that from east to west, north to south, that we go there and we see and we could advocate. Because when you go, if you're a hands-on person, as I am, you go into the clinics, you go into the community centers, you go into the farming, the entire farming and all that, right? But the whole thing is that food sustainability is critical. We don't have enough flat land in Paracuta Bay, for instance, to provide all the food. But we do have people who have large acreage of land. So we have to be able to work a program where we provide, say, the fencing, the seedlings, and the other particular areas, even in terms of tilling the ground and making the beds available, so that not only a backyard, but backland, because there are people with 5 acres, 10 acres, 15 acres, who can then create with government intervention.
So just to be clear, as it relates to my question on the particular matter, you have no problem being a backbencher again?
No, because the service to the people is what it is, because right now, you don't get elected to be a minister. The actual premier of the day will choose who his cabinet will be. Would I be an effective minister? There was none better, none more effective, none more qualified. If I'm a backbench, can I help the Virgin Islands? Surely I could.
Okay. And finally, where do you see the BVI in the next 10 to 20 years?
10, 20 years. We must be a British Virgin Islands that have made it possible for all of those who have fallen through the cracks to get the assistance that they needed. We must be where the youngsters are given the opportunity to lend their expertise. We must be a BVI that begin to even export our labor if it comes, when it comes to that. We don't create enough carpenters and plumbers and electricians and all of the services that are needed. We must provide the trade schools that are necessary. We must provide the particular opportunities for people to own their home, that small businesses to thrive. We must be able to maintain ownership of our lands, because if we don't, we are going to be strangers in our very own land. So we must be able to look in terms of being self-determined. Whatever the people choose as self-determination, a BVI who, whether it's through independence, through associated states, through integration, or through becoming a republic, we must be able to reach to that point. We cannot have 65 and 67 years later and then talk about us not being ready. We don't know what self-determination means. That don't make any sense. So we must be able to move it forward. We moved from where we were in 49 to the Constitution in 50 to ministerial system in 67. And we are stuck there. The Constitution in 2007 afforded us the opportunity to move closer to self-determination. We dropped the ball in some regards, and it was basically not picked up. We have to not go back. We have to go forward.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Honorable Malone, for joining us here on Just for the Record. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, viewers, that's all we have for today's Just for the Record. Until next time, I'm Kamal Haynes. Hope you enjoy the content. Bye-bye. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Burrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites. It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.